We didn't vote for this at the gas pump. Nobody stood there between the hum of the cooler and the flicker of bad fluorescent lights and said, yes, I'd like to fund a war today, so go ahead and round it up and take the extra $1. Take 2, or hell, take 10. I've always wanted to feel the weight of empire every time I swipe my goddamn card. But that is how it works, isn't it? Because wars aren't paid for in speeches. They aren't paid for in press conferences or flag pins or men in expensive suits talking about strength like it's something you can measure in missiles and TV appearances. Wars are paid for quietly and slowly. They are paid for in grocery aisles and light bills. The moment a mother puts something back on a shelf and tells her kids, maybe next time. And you can already feel it. It's in the way the gas prices creep up. Not all at once, but enough to make you notice. It's in the way groceries cost a little more than they did last week and a lot more than they did a year ago. It's in the way everything feels just slightly tighter, like the belt has one less notch in it and nobody bothered to tell you why. And somewhere, far from here, men are talking about strategy. They're talking about the Strait of Hormuz and supply chains and deterrence and escalation. They're using words that sound clean. Words that don't smell like diesel fuel or cheap hamburger meat or overdue notices. Words that don't carry the weight of a man standing in his kitchen at midnight doing math he already knows doesn't work. Because the truth is simpler than they want to admit. Every bomb dropped over there lands a little bit over here. Every escalation shows up eventually in a place like Benton, Arkansas, or Helena, or some other town nobody in Washington gives a shit about or could find on a map if you put a gun to their head and gave them 3 guesses. It shows up in the cost of getting to work, in the cost of feeding your family, in that quiet, creeping anxiety that maybe this thing is bigger than they're letting on, and maybe nobody's really in control of it. And that's the part that should scare you. Not just the war, not just the cost, but that feeling that the people driving this thing don't know how to manage it. Because this isn't a chess match. It's not some careful, calculated game between brilliant minds playing out 10 moves ahead. Feels like somebody took the keys to something powerful, something that requires precision and discipline and restraint, and forgot how the thing works. And somewhere along the way, they forgot how to manage it. So now we're lurching forward with our foot pressed down, the engine screaming, telling ourselves this is strength, telling ourselves that this is leadership, telling ourselves this is necessary. And maybe some of it is. Maybe there are threats. Maybe there are realities in that part of the world that don't fit neatly into the stories we tell ourselves. But none of that changes who pays for it. Because you do. Not in theory, not in some abstract line item buried in a budget bill nobody reads. You pay for it in real time and in real dollars and real decisions that get harder every single day. You pay for it when interest rates stay high because inflation won't settle down. You pay for it when wages don't keep up. You pay for it when the margin for error in your life disappears entirely. And the cruelest part of all of it is how disconnected it feels. Because they will never say it out loud. They won't stand at a podium and tell you that this war means your groceries are going up. They won't explain how oil prices ripple through every part of your life until everything costs more and nobody can quite pinpoint when it started. They won't connect the dots for you because if they did, you might start asking the kind of questions that make people like that uncomfortable. Questions like who benefits from this? Questions like why? Questions like how long? And the most dangerous question of all, is it worth it? Empire's expensive, and it always has been. Rome didn't fall because it was weak. It fell because it was stretched thin and drowning in the cost of holding everything together. And Britain didn't retreat from the world because it wanted to. It ran out of money, it ran out of will, and it ran out of the ability to convince its own people that the cost made sense anymore. And now, here we are. Still the most powerful nation on earth, still capable of projecting force anywhere on the planet, and still telling ourselves that this is what strength looks like. But strength isn't just in the ability to act. Strength is the wisdom to know when not to. It's the discipline to understand the second and third and fourth order consequences of every decision we make. It's the humility to recognize that power without control isn't strength at all. It's recklessness. And right now, it feels reckless. It feels like we are spending money we don't have, risking outcomes we can't predict, and asking people who had no say in any of it to carry the weight without complaining about it. It feels like the bill is already due. You can see it in the numbers, in the markets, in the warnings from economists who don't agree on much, but sure as hell seem to agree on this. You can feel it in the air, in that quiet tension that settles over everything when people start to realize that something bigger is happening, and nobody's quite sure where it ends. But the speeches keep coming, and so do the justifications. And so do the same tired language about strength and resolve and standing tall, as if saying it enough times makes it true. But out here where people live, strength looks different. Strength looks like making it through another week. It looks like keeping the lights on. It looks like feeding your family and hoping nothing breaks because there's nothing left to fix it with if it does. That's the reality of this. Not the maps or the briefings, not the talking points, the receipts, those long itemized unavoidables, and the ones being handed piece by piece to people who never asked for any of this. So if you're looking for something to complain about that. If you're looking for something to write about the moment a war stops being foreign policy and starts being personal. If you're looking for something to worry about the cost. Worry about the quiet anger of people who are doing everything right and still falling behind while watching billions disappear into something they don't understand and didn't choose. About the truth that they won't say out loud, that power used carelessly doesn't just shape the world, it breaks the people paying for it. Defiance till death.